My parents are completely emotionally immature, which has caused me a lot of childhood trauma. And as a result, I have CPTSD. Now, in this video, I want to talk about the three main characteristics of my emotionally immature parents and possibly also help you to understand whether your parents are emotionally immature or not. If you're watching this video and you think you may have trauma or you know you have trauma, there's a highly likelihood that your parents are definitely emotionally immature. And now I'm going to be reading from this book, Children of Emotionally Immature Parents. If you haven't read this, I highly recommend it because it is one of the best books that I've ever read. Now, let's go to the first one. Is that they are hard to give to. Emotionally immature people want others to show concern about their problems, but they aren't likely to accept helpful suggestions. They reflexively reject efforts to make them feel cared about. They pull others in, but when people try to help, they push them away. In addition, these people seem to expect others to read their minds and are often quick to anger if people don't anticipate their wishes fast enough. They dislike having to tell people what they need and instead hold back, waiting to see whether anyone will notice how they're feeling. The classic unspoken demand of the emotionally immature adult is, if you really loved me, you'd know what I want you to do. So, this one is can be really subtle because as children, especially as children who are traumatized, we want our parents to make us feel loved. We want them to emotionally connect with us because we needed that emotional connection. And when they say stupid stuff like, if you really loved me, you'd know what I want you to do, that is psychological and emotional abuse. And as a result, we get trauma. If your parents give you anything but unconditional love, that is not true parenting. It is they're conditioning you to do things for them because they expect you, just because you're their child. And this is what my parents told me over and over again. I I always wanted to play soccer when I was a child, and I did. Well, my dad, he told me, and I still remember exactly where. He was like, Blaj, you need to be really good and you need to really commit to practicing soccer and be a really good soccer player because of you, I can't go to college, which was BS, of course, but that really hit me hard. And I wanted to please my dad. I, of course, knew what he wanted, so I was doing everything that I could to please him. And there are plenty of more examples of that. And also, another one that is really hit me really hard when I understood it was when my grandpa died from my mom's side. So my mom's dad, he came after the funeral. Can still remember sitting in my bed just being sad. She came to me, hugged me, and started crying while hugging me. That was supposed to be my dad's job, but it was actually mine then. And when she was okay, she just left. No, she didn't care about my emotions or anything like that. And I was completely drained of them. So this is the first one. The second one is that their self esteem rides on your compliance. People who are emotionally immature only feel good about themselves when they can get other people to give them what they want and to act like they think they should. Given this shaky self worth, it's hard for emotionally immature parents to tolerate their children's emotions. An upset or fussy child can stir up anxieties about their own fundamental goodness. If they can't immediately calm their child, they may feel like a failure and then blame the child for upsetting them. For emotionally immature people, all interactions boil down to the question of whether they're good people or bad ones, which explains their extreme defensiveness if you try to talk to them about something that they did. They often respond to even mild complaints about their behavior with an extreme statement, well, like, well, I must be the worst mother ever. Or obviously, I can't do anything right. They would rather shut down communication than hear something that could make them feel like bad people. If you are, or if you were in a traumatic, if you had a traumatic childhood, you know that this feeling pretty much here. They will always say something that is gonna guilt trip you on doing something. Like I already mentioned the two examples, and I had plenty of those afterwards. Like one of the things was when I was at the U.S. military academy at West Point. I so the curriculum there was hard, and I was always either studying or doing things. And in general, my second year there, I was sleeping on average 4 hours a day. On the weekends, I slept 12 hours, but that's beside the point. Well, my dad then guilt tripped me. He was sending me email after email that I needed to help my sister with her physics homework because she couldn't understand it. So he was guilt tripping me that hard that she's gonna fail and everything else like that. That I spent an hour and a half of the time that I was supposed to be sleeping to help her for I think about a couple of days. And instead of me getting 4 hours of sleep that night, I got 2.5 hours. I was freaking destroyed and completely so tired physically and emotionally. But I did this because my parents were guilt tripping me, and specifically my father here, because you don't want to help your sister, or, oh, you're such a bad brother and stuff like that. So that was continuous. And because I am not speaking with them at the moment, they're also angry. Oh, we must be such bad parents because Blige is not talking with us. And then the third one is they see roles as sacred. If there's anything emotionally immature people are keen on in relationships, it's role compliance. Roles simplify life and makes decisions clear cut. As parents, emotionally immature people need their children to play a proper role that includes respecting and obeying them. They often use platitudes to support the authority of their role as a parent because, like roles, platitudes oversimplify complex situations and makes them easier to deal with. Role entitlement is an attitude of demanding certain treatment because of your social role. When parents feel entitled to do what they want simply because they're in the role of a parent, this is a form of role entitlement. They act as though being a parent exempts them from respecting boundaries or being considerate. So, the third one here is pretty much, hey, because we're your parents, we should have access to you all the time. Boundaries don't work. Nothing works. When this is most often seen as specifically what happened with me was when I was in my room, my parents just walked in without knocking, without asking, hey, can I come in and stuff like that. And it was pretty much there was no boundaries. They were telling me everything and talking to me about any topic, even if I wanted to or didn't. If I didn't, if I even if I didn't have time or I had to do something else, I needed to reflect everything around it or redo everything around it so that they would actually feel okay because they're the parent. If they wanted to talk to me about some issues as some emotional stuff that they were going through, and they were going through them a lot, especially negative ones, I had to listen because they wanted to talk to me. And then they would drain all of my energy and then they would leave. They didn't allow me to actually have any feelings of my own. And they always said like, "Hey, I'm the parent. I know best. You don't know anything." They never they never acknowledged my wishes or that I'm an independent person. I was always another limb of themselves. So one of the things that I did was when I was 3 years old, or when I was in the third grade, what they wanted to do, the school, was that they wanted to bump me up to fourth grade because I was so bored in in school at that point, and it was showing psychologically because I stopped talking. And when they understood that, like, so at the beginning they actually thought I was slow, so that I couldn't understand what the third year was about because I didn't want to talk to anybody. And then the psychologist actually gave them that it was the complete opposite. I shut down because I thought everybody else was dumb. So when the school suggested that my parents would put me in fourth grade, I was ecstatic. But then the worst thing that happened was my parents never asked me about this. I wanted to, I told them to. But because they knew better, they were like, no, we want Blash to have his childhood. We don't want him to grow up too soon, which is a funny thing because I had to grow up because I was the parent to my parents. And there you go. These are the three signs of emotionally immature parents. If your parents have at least one of them, they're definitely emotionally immature because emotionally mature parents don't have any of those. And you're lucky. That's all that I can say. If not, join me in my mission to spread awareness about emotional health. Bye.